By midnight this evening, the children separated from a parent at the border are supposed to be reunited with them. But it is not that simple, and it doesn't look like the Trump administration will meet the deadline for all of the families. So here's where we stand. The federal judge's order says Homeland Security needs to reunite more than 2,500 migrant children with their families. But government attorneys say they can only make that happen now with a little over 1,600. According to lawyers from the Justice Department, 260 parents are believed to have been released here in the States, and they've lost contact. Another 463 have already been deported without their children. So in total, there are nearly 900 kids right now with no clear path back to their parents. Again, this was the result of the zero-tolerance immigration policy announced in May. People who crossed the border illegally were arrested, and that meant if they had children, they would not be able to keep them. Today in Washington, D.C., protesters and their children took part in a sit-in in the Hart Senate office. Protesters, including children and families, as well as the Families Belong Together Coalition and the National Domestic Workers Alliance, they were demanding immediate reunification of all families and an end to family detention. Now, since the federal judge's order to reunite the families, some have already been brought back together ahead of the deadline. As for the families deported without their children, in a court filing on Wednesday, the ACLU laid out 27 examples of parents who unknowingly signed away their rights to reunify with their children.